somebody reaches out to you, what would you do in your role to fix that problem if you were given the reins?
First thing I do is I would check that they still exist at that address, and if they don't, obviously we're gonna deal with that. But then I start out by asking them if they have signage, if so, what kind, and show me a photo. Then I would say, okay, well, we're going to work on this, and I would ask for their photos. If I cannot see the listing because it's been suspended, ask for screenshots of the listing to take a look at it, and then I ask for supporting paperwork. Paperwork is the big deal these days. I've had people come to me with one document, and it kills me because I'm like, you can't, you need more than that. But I usually ask for, a minimum of 5 pieces of business paperwork. I've had people submit up to over 15. And I've now started a list because I want to make sure that I've got, for inspiration purposes. Because if people tell me, well, I don't have anything, I'm like, oh, go find the list and give them some ideas. But that's what I generally do. I start by looking at the listing itself, looking at the address, looking at the signage, photos or not, and then I look at the paperwork. The paperwork needs to be consistent. That's the biggest thing. It needs it needs to align 100% with whatever's been added to the Google listing, and it needs to be from authoritative bodies. I also look at, their digital footprint. Do they have social media? And if the social media is out there, does it have the same name? And when possible, does it have the address showing and the phone number and the website URL? Making sure that their digital footprint is consistent. I also look at their website to make sure that their address shows in the footer and on the contact us page. A lot of times people don't have that. I do tell them, and they will come back to me and say, I don't want to do that. My answer is, we'll do it for a little while. Do it while Google is verifying the listing. After that, take out the street address, just have, for SEO purposes, the city, the state, and the zip. But I've been very lucky because most people are kind of compliant with that. They'll either go in and enter it, or their developer will be helpful with it. But that's where I start. Look at all these factors.
And Amy, do you handle then the application or reapplication, the communication management with Google directly?
I can start out. There's actually kind of 2 points. Process for getting a listing back is that you are first offered an appeal. If that appeal, and then during that appeal I always have to point this out because I sometimes forget, you have 60 minutes. They actually say to you in 3 different places, are you ready to submit your paperwork? You have 60 minutes. They said 3 times before you actually start. So you have 5 fields in which you can upload information, upload proof. They give you examples of proof. And then there's 5 fields in which you can upload things. You can do that. And then there's if that's rejected, you either are offered or a link can be provided to you to request a second appeal. If that appeal is also rejected, your only option going forward is to go to the Google Business Profile Help Forum, sometimes called Help Community, I think, and post there and ask for escalation. I can step in. Working privately for folks, I can step in at any time. I can step in when they first have the problem before they do anything. I can step in when they need to be appealed. Whenever I step in, I am very, very specific to do exactly what I outlined before. I look at everything from their digital footprint to their documentation, to the listing, to the photos, to just everything. And I've got to say, most product experts I know, I think most of them do the same thing. And I've had a really long string of successes. I don't think there's a consistency to how everybody does their reinstatements. Maybe if you work for an agency, there may be a certain consistency there, like amongst more, 2 or more people. But I will say that at this time, I do this pretty much on my own. I've had a lot of good luck. I've had a lot of good luck also because the way I present the information to Google is very clear and specific. I don't say, go look here, go do that. I say, oh, look at this one example. I had one time where I don't remember what time, I think they were electricians, and the one company purchased the second company. And the company wanted to go in and change the listing for the second company. It was an older man who had retired and sold his company, which is fine. Well, they didn't have, Google's like, no, you can't change the name. And my presumption was that Google thought that they were scammers or spammers. So what we ended up doing was, as opposed to like the paperwork that I talked about before, we have government paperwork, things like that. I said, I want you to please provide me with your ownership documentation and anything that can prove that this gentleman sold this to you. Then I went in and I got technical documentation from their website, one of which was like, most people, I got to know you can get that. I said, you have to be creative. And I got all that together. And the first time Google had issues, but the second time it went through, and was very, very happy with that. Again, because you have to be able to be flexible with these. It's not always just do, step 1, 2, and 3, and then you're done.